Hello everyone, it's Spud here and welcome to the first ever episode of the Roundup. I'll briefly explain what the Roundup is and I'll let you know what we're going to be talking about in today's video. So the Roundup is going to be a series that we upload every week and it will be talking about many esports events that happen on. It will be mainly Call of Duty and Counter-Strike. And yeah, we've got a few things to talk about today, including some breaking news that has just come out in the last half an hour since I started to record this. We'll also be talking about IEM Chengdu for FaZe Clan winning in Counter-Strike. And we're also going to be talking about F1 Sim Racing with also the honourable mention of the week and MVP of the week. As this is my first episode, please don't expect loads of failures. All right, I'm learning with my podcast type of thing. Would love to get guests on in the future, but I know that might be difficult. But we'll give it a go. Any suggestions, please drop them in the comments. Also, like the video if you enjoy. And yeah, we're going to just get straight into it. I'm looking forward to it. So we're going to start with the breaking news. And it is a Call of Duty League announcement from Daniel Say, who is the GM. So, this is major breaking news. So obviously this is the 5th season of the Call of Duty League. Now I watched Call of Duty quite a bit when I was younger, back when it was like MLG were doing it. And then I stopped watching it for a while, and then I started to rewatch it when it was the Call of Duty League during the middle of Vanguard in 2022. So that's when I started to rewatch like Call of Duty properly, and I watch every single match now. So obviously there's only 4 majors this year rather than 5, which is really disappointing with 7 online matches. Like, nobody wants to watch all the online matches, especially with the top 4 teams being so much better than the bottom 8. I think it's like 53-5 or something. I could be wrong. Between the top 4 versus everyone else, it's just crazy. Last season the viewership was really high. One of them, as he mentions here, the main reason for that I think is because Scump retiring, who's arguably top 3 best Call of Duty players ever. He retired and started doing the watch parties on Twitch before he had to do them on YouTube after YouTube got the exclusivity rights for the Call of Duty League. But when Optic were playing FaZe and that, he was getting like 100,000 viewers watching him. And it boosted the Call of Duty League as a whole. So this year's been a bit of a downward step. But they've now got some new details which are going to be huge for the Call of Duty League, as it obviously since COVID they've struggled because it's obviously franchising and there's only 12 teams, and I'd say half of the teams don't really do anything major in the league in terms of like hosting events or just being a good organisation in general. I'd only say there's half of the league that are good in that sense. So you had to pay a huge fee. I think it was about 15 million, but I could be wrong. So please don't. For this type of stuff, you're probably best listening to like Tactical Rab or Benja and the same. They've got more knowledge than I have in this sort of department. Outstanding entry fees will be eliminated, and any fees previously collected from teams will be returned in full, which is huge. So I knew that they'd pause them, as it says here, but they're also going to remove that obligation if you want to join the CDL. So that means there is a chance of expansion. And I think that will be absolutely huge. I think even if it just went to 16 teams, because there are so many talented players that will never get a chance in the league because of it. And they have to just play in challenges year in, year out. And there's only a couple of like major challenger events a year on the year as well. Teams will earn increased revenue tied to the sale of their in-game merchandise, for example, team bundles. That is decent because a lot of people buy the team bundles, and it's not just like the big boys like Optic, FaZe and that. You've also got people buying like LAG's team bundle. Now LAG is owned by the Guard, who also own Arsenal, the Cronkies. and they've been wanting to sell the org. They got rid of everyone else. They've only got the Call of Duty team league left, and everyone will be on like the minimum salary that you're allowed in the CDL, which is $59,000 and a yearly salary. That's the minimum. But I think realistically, because of this, this is a perfect opportunity for someone to buy their spot in the league and just have that have like the guard, and LAG just becomes nothing. It's finished. I think that would actually be a good thing because it means that they can invest in a better roster and just in general, it just makes the league better when there's orgs that actually care. And the same goes for Legion because they just don't. They announced their roster for the start of the season using AI images. It was ridiculous. It's like something a 6-year-old would have done. Now obviously 3 and 4 really big. One's huge as well. Don't get me wrong. I think 1 and 4 are the biggest. So recognising that hosting large-scale events are vital to teams in the CDL community, we will increase existing event subsidy amounts for teams organising live in-person events such as majors, open, and champs. This means that the orgs will get more money and more of the profits that Activision were keeping for themselves. This is really good because it means that more organisations would be willing to host majors. So Boston always hosts one and Toronto also hosts one all the time. Miami are doing one this year. Carolina, Royal Ravens were meant to be doing one, but they've had to postpone that. So now it's going to be a no fans. It's going to be in California still, but there's not going to be any fans, which is rubbish. And then teams will receive a 2-year minimum guarantee of revenue so they can continue investing into the Call of Duty League. That is huge news for the Call of Duty League. It's massive, to be honest. This could obviously have implications for the lawsuit that Scump and Hex tried on Activision for hundreds of millions of dollars. We will just have to see, but I think the future looks bright for the Call of Duty League, to be honest. Obviously, the news is just new, so the announcement's just new, so there's not really much else about it at the moment. But I think the fact that this is going, it means that more organisations that want to join the Call of Duty League can. I believe, who was it? I think TSM wanted a team. So we'll just have to see, but I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Now obviously Call of Duty is going to be the majority of these episodes. Most of the time it will just be Call of Duty probably. It's kind of just like lucky that there was a few other things to talk about in this one, such as IEM Chengdu and F1 Sim Racing. So yeah, that's really good news. Now, we've got next the qualifiers for Major 3. Now, the next episode that we're going to upload of this, I think we're going to I think it would be good if for the next episode we just do a recap of the season so far, so I can kind of go through the season so far. Now, regarding who I support, you'll tell I'm not really a biased. I'm not like a biased Optic fan, but obviously I really like Optic. I also have a soft spot for the Royal Ravens just because of Clayster. So yeah, one thing they need to sort out for next year is you cannot have 2 games on a Friday. They didn't do this last year. It's because the online qualifiers is now 7. It's ridiculous. FaZe 3-0 Minnesota, pretty straightforward. Couple of new players for Minnesota, Rocker and it was Gunless and Standy. I thought Gunless actually had quite a good series against FaZe, and he also had a good one against New York as well. Then it was the Legion versus LAG. After LAG came 6th in LAN, I know they're terrible on LAN. They don't. LAG and Las Vegas Legion, I think, are the only 2 teams in the league without a facility now. Now that Carolina have got one, so they don't. They just play in their own rooms and like that. They don't have the team chemistry that other teams like Optic and New York and Toronto and FaZe have. It's just not the same without a facility, in my opinion. And yeah, I was surprised that it was 3-0, to be honest. I thought it'd be a close series, but it wasn't. And then, unfortunately for LAG, they had to play Toronto, which, yeah, if LAG were lucky, they could have got a map if, like, the search, because that's always their, like, the map that they might win is a search. They didn't. It was 3-0. The first series I want to go through in a bit more detail is Boston Breach versus Miami Heretics, which was a 3-2 win to the Heretics. Um, as you can see, Snoopy had a good series. I thought Real had a really good series. I think Real was the best player in this series. He also had the most damage on Miami. I thought you can see that Beans did have nearly 20,000 damage, which is huge. Obviously, Beans, it was in for Slasher and Pentagram making his CDL debut for Boston, replacing Asim. And Real making his Miami debut, replacing Eric Boom. So first map was pretty. I would say it was like really close, to be honest. I know it was like 80 points in it, but I think Boston were comfortably the better team here. You can see it in the gunfights, the kills to the deaths. Beans had a really good map one. Snoopy had a really good map one. You know, Snoopy is still a young player. He is still classed as a rookie, even though he played champs last year. Um, I mean, Real is a rookie. He was actually my original pick for rookie of the year before the visa issues with Carolina. I don't think he's going to get it, unfortunately, but he had a really good series and a good map there. This is where it went wrong for Boston, and in my opinion, this is why they didn't win the series. It should have been 3-0 off this. They were 5-2 up in the Karachi Search and Destroy and lost 6-5. In my opinion, at a pro level, you just can't do that. They had no composure. But fair play has to be given to Miami for bringing it back. I thought Lucky and Real, as you can tell, stole the show. They were their best two players in this series, whereas I think Vickle struggled quite a bit. The map 3 was pretty dominant from Boston. Um, yeah, they looked really good in the Karachi control, and they deserved to win that. And then Vista came along, and to be honest, this was quite a close game for most of it. But then, um, in the hard point, to the last two hills, Miami were just absolutely brilliant. They were winning all their engagements, and yeah, that sent us to a map 5, which I kind of want to go through round 1 of this map 5 because Boston get first blood, so it's a 4v3, and then Beans falls off the map, which then makes it a 3v3 and they lose that round. Obviously, if they win that round, they could have had that momentum going into the round 2, and they'd have probably been feeling a bit better about themselves. But Boston's search and destroy this year has been absolutely horrendous, and they can't close out a game 5. They're really poor at it, and Miami won, and Real stole the show on his return to the CDL. Moving on, we've got New York 3, Minnesota Rocker 1. And yeah, it was just kind of what you expect. It was a really good series out of Hydra. You know, he was the MVP last year. He's such a good player. He just shows what he can do. Moving on to the second game that we're going to analyse. Sunday was amazing, by the way, in terms of quality of matches, excitement. Seattle versus Carolina, obviously 0-4 making his debut into the league here. And he's a rookie, but he's almost like a rookie because he's barely been around in the Call of Duty industry and in the community. But he's been given a chance here to replace Arcites. So going into map 1, a new map 6-star, and it was quite close, but even though Carolina might have had the kills, Seattle had the time on the hill. Hugh had 2 minutes on the hill with 28 kills. You know, I think Carolina played well. Felony needs to improve on his kills though, because he is the reason that they're losing maps like that. Because it's not like he soaked up the hill, because TJ Halley was the one that was on the hill for most of the time. So they need to work on that. Seattle have always been good at search this year, just terrible at really bad at control and pretty poor at hardpoint. And you can see there even though it was 6-4, they were comfortably in control of that, in my opinion. But then the map 3, Carolina, knowing they had to win 3 straight maps, they were unbelievable in this control. Clayster going 25-9, showing what he's still got, really. Really good map out of Clayster. And yeah, they just struggled, Seattle here, because Carolina, just on their attack on Karachi, they were just really dominant and fluid. Then it came to sub base. Now, by the way, just to say, Seattle have only won 3 matches of control all year, which is crazy, really. That's something the coaching staff for Seattle have to work that out instantly. Then we've got map 4, which was sub base. Now, I thought Carolina would win this, and they did. TJ Halley with a 34 kill game. He had a good map here. I think all of Carolina played pretty well in this map. And yeah, it took us to a map 5. 6-star again. We hadn't seen a 6-star search before this, I don't think. There might have been one on Saturday or Friday, I can't remember. But yeah, it was pretty comfortable for Seattle, to be honest. I think Felony there getting 2 kills doesn't really help, where Hugh gets 11. And obviously the MVP went to Hugh here on the website. I still honestly would have still given it to TJ Halley. I know they lost the game, but I still think he was the best player on the map. Moving on to the next game, it is Las Vegas Legion versus LA Thieves, and we're going to go through this one as well because this was another failed reverse split. It was a 3-2 to the Thieves after the most dominant hard point in the last couple of years. 49 to 250 is absolutely crazy. Purge with 7. Attach with 8. Now, fair play to Attach because he's been probably the best player outside of the top 4 teams this year. So I won't really say too much on that. It's a bad map. But Purge has been consistently poor. Joe Deceives on his return to the CDL was absolutely superb. Nasty was good, Kremp was good, Ghosty was good. Dominant. Then map 2, again, LA Thieves are really good. Joe Deceives 12 kills in the search. He had a really good series. And definitely the MVP of it. So, Vegas knew they had to win. They had to win this next map, and they did. Kremp and Nasty were quite poor in this series. I keep saying series, but when I say series, most of the time I mean map. I do apologise. It's something I'll work on. Yeah, Nero 33 and 19, nearly 7,000 damage. Really good map out of him there. And he got 6 ticks on the hill. And then a really close map 4. Nero, though, was the game changer. 6,785 damage with 41 kills, taking us to a map 5. But unfortunately for the Vegas Legion, they got destroyed in the search. Well, I wouldn't say destroyed based off the kills, but I mean, Geo getting 3 and Purge getting 3 does not help, whereas Nasty gets 9. But yeah, there you go. Vegas do lose. And because of that loss and Purge's consistent poor performances, they are going to be making a roster change. And I think this has been a long time coming. Obviously, A-Seam was dropped off Boston, so was Slasher. I think that was ridiculous. I would have honestly dropped the other 2 in front of them, potentially. Well, I definitely would have dropped Priester over Slasher. I think dropping Slasher was crazy. I think dropping A-Seam was very harsh, seeing as he'd only been in the team for a few weeks. Because obviously he won the first Challengers event in Boston. He won that with FaZe Black, and then joined Boston, and then's been dropped. But he's coming back onto the CDL already with Vegas. Yeah, he won't be playing in a I know he won't be playing in a facility, but I think it's a good move, and I think that roster's quite good now. I think there's no excuse for that roster to be the 5th best this year. Attach Gio, Nero, and Sim, I think, is the best roster. But out of the top, forgetting the top 4, excluding them. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say. So yeah, I think that's quite good. Now moving on to the last one, we just can't. Optic just can't close FaZe. FaZe have Optic's number. It's ridiculous. It's 6-0 this year. Last year, Optic had FaZe's number. What's changed? 3-1. It shouldn't have been. I'm sorry. It should have been honestly a 3-0 to Optic, but it isn't. There's no beating around the bush. First map, Optic were really good. First of all, I want to say I think everyone here played a good series. Honestly, I think for Optic, Kenny and Pred weren't as good as normal. I think Dashi and Shotzi were really good. And for FaZe, I thought Abizi wasn't amazing, but he did have a migraine, so you've got to give him some sort of an excuse. I thought Celian was decent, Draza was alright, and I thought Simp was probably the best player on the map. Well, for the team that won. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit biased here, but I think Dashi was really good. And Shotzi was really good. But I think if you don't look at kills and that, I just think Simp was really effective. And that's why he's one of the best players in the game for the last few years. So map 1, look at how good Dashi did here. He had 2 minutes on the hill with 33 kills. Simp had similar as well. Both of them, they were the standout players in map 1. I actually have a clip here from map 1, which was Optics listening, and it was just showing them how P3, how to hold it. Dashi popped off. I just thought I'd show a couple of clips here, so yeah, let's just get straight into it. So as you can see there, FaZe have decided not to push the hill anymore, and they've had to obviously move out and go to next, which gives Optic a full 60 on that hill, which was huge, and really good play there from Dashi and from the rest of the team. Now the search and destroy was disappointing because Optic were getting most of the first bloods, but FaZe just wouldn't give up, and that's why they won this map. There was quite a few times. I think there was 2 times in this map where FaZe won a 2v4. And it's just rounds like that where you'd think that it should be Optic winning them, and they just weren't. So yeah. That's disappointing, but it's not as disappointing as map 3. You can see here from the damage, how on earth did Optic not win? I'm going to show you why Optic didn't win this series. And it's the second round of this control. Let me just find it. It's just towards the end. Oh, sorry, we've got an advert. Because I do not pay for YouTube Premium. Right here, so it's 13 versus 6, and they've got 1 tick. Look at how close that third tick is. So 12, right, look, 12 to 5 on lives. There's 43 seconds left. It should be fine, right? Celium and Simp get 2 there. Shotzi calls in his cruise missile. Doesn't get a kill. But obviously they know that 3 of them are at the back. And now it's 10 versus 4. This is fine. Just get 1 kill and get on the point, and you'll probably win.
Here comes the stack though over towards the point. Shotzi's on for the first. Atlanta need to go. They need to find a way to get them off. Couple back and forth, but the kills are good for FaZe. Now it's just down to only 1 more member forward. Pred is the last player over towards bottom blue, and he's been seen by Cell. Atlanta continue to find the kills. Have they missed a moment here if you're Optic? Last chance to try to break your way in, and Atlanta continue to reap at the kill feed. Kenny has to jump off the top.
And a huge three there from FaZe.
Hold on to the...
And ultimately, that won them the map, that won them the game. You know, 41 kills there from Shotzi. They tried their best, but ultimately they have to win that second round, without a doubt. And then moving on to map 4. Yeah, it was another really close one. It's always close between Optic and FaZe, yet FaZe always win 3-1 or 4-1, depending on if it's like a grand final. Yeah, it's disappointing, but what I feel like I see is for Optic against FaZe, all 4 players can't play to their best for Optic. This time it was Dashin Shotzi. In the grand finals of Major 2, it was probably Kenny and Pred. Or just Kenny, to be honest. Yeah, they've got to sort it out, to be honest. Because it's costing them. And Optic have only won 1 major since... They haven't won a major since the middle of Vanguard. So obviously, like I said, I started watching around then. I started watching after they'd won. So I've not seen Optic win a major in the Call of Duty League, like live. Because obviously I only started watching the Call of Duty League then. Obviously I watched Call of Duty before that, when it was like the CWL. But yeah, they've got to do better there. But you know, credit where it's due to FaZe. They are the best team in the game. Obviously won Major 2, are probably a favourite for Major 3. I think it's any of the top 4 teams can win. But it's just who will it be? Obviously last year there was 5 teams because you had LA Thieves, but obviously because they had their championship winning roster of 2022 with Draza, Kenny Octane and Envoy. That was all disbanded last year. So we're gonna move on from the Call of Duty scene, and now we are going to go to Counter-Strike, where obviously there was IEM Chengdu in China this weekend, and the semi-finals were decent. FaZe obviously had Astralis, who Astralis hadn't lost a map in their qualifiers and in their quarterfinal, and also beat FaZe 2-0 in the qualifiers. However, FaZe did win, and obviously Mao's got through to the final as well. Obviously, FaZe are the best Counter-Strike team at the moment. Everyone knows that. Mao's really wanted to win this. It was 12-8, and obviously it's first to 13, or if it's 12-12, it goes to overtime. Mao's did win a couple of rounds. If Mao's had won this round, based off the money that FaZe had, I think we would have went to overtime, because players like Frozen and Rops and Brokey, and probably Rain as well, would have all had to have, like, their economy would have been so low. Carrigan might have been able to have a rifle, but that might have been it. But I'm just going to show the last round of map 1, which was Mouse's map pick.
Shot from Torshi to open. Brolin might have to be the guy, might have to be the hero. Shui lends a helping hand.
So obviously the first 2 kills there went to Mouse, but then a huge double trade from Rain and Frozen to stop that.
But the top side's getting overrun as FaZe trade their way in.
That is the biggest kill of the round, and of the map, probably. Maybe not the map, the round. Zherzhen on that flank, if he kills Frozen, if Frozen doesn't check it, I think Mao's win the round, and then it goes to overtime.
Locked out, that aggression punished, they're ready for it. And FaZe, this is their moment. 2 kills away from denying Mouse's comeback, stopping them in their tracks. They've fallen down here once before. Brokey wants it to be different this time around.
Really good player from Brokey.
Pressure's gonna get to him here as he swings it wide. Brokey is the X Factor.
That was really good play from Brokey, and that's why he was also the MVP of. That's why he was the MVP of the series. Now moving on to the final round of the final map, which was only map 2. FaZe did obviously win this 2-0.
The Brokey awaits. They're caught in his jaws. He bites down. Rops takes another.
Nice from
Mouse,
Rops.
this might be the end of the road.
Coming unraveled, and even as they deal with Brokey, there's so much more to break through if you want to get into this B site. Up the vent feels like a death sentence, so they might just have to battle forward unless Shuey can carve a path, give them a reason to believe. Spotted by the player at backside and swung on, it's frozen.
Desperate.
Tearing a title away from his old team. FaZe stand on the precipice of lifting the trophy in Chengdu, and with Brolin dead.
And there it was. FaZe won.
FaZe
Carrigan buzzing. The
There is
IGL
nothing
for
worse than
FaZe.
coming close and missing the gold, and that is a feeling that FaZe have felt 4 times over. But that changes.
And yeah, they did deserve that. I've just realised I didn't show you it. My mistake. Like I said, I'm a rookie at this point, alright? I'm a rookie.
Shuey lends a helping hand, but the top side's getting overrun as FaZe trade their way in. Exertion locked out. That aggression punished. They're ready for it. And FaZe, this is their moment. 2 kills away from denying Mouse's comeback, stopping them in their tracks. They've fallen down here once before. Brokey wants it to be different this time around, and it's only Torshi left. Pressure's gonna get to him here as he swings it wide. Brokey is the X Factor. FaZe Clan is in Chengdu, and the precipice of lifting the trophy in Chengdu, and with Brolin dead, done it. FaZe Clan, there is nothing worse than coming close and missing the gold, and that is a feeling that FaZe have felt 4 times over, but that changes today.
Sorry about that. And that is a really deserved win for FaZe. They are currently the best Counter-Strike team out there at the moment. Moving on to the final segment of the video podcast, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to be talking about F1 Sim Racing, which is 12 races. It's been split into 3 rounds. The first event was 1 round, and then it stopped. It was just cancelled after that because of like funding or a disagreement with Formula One, stuff like that. And then just out of nowhere, it was announced that they were carrying on with 2 new events. First event would have 6 rounds, and the second event would have 5 rounds. And the first of those 2 events were on at last week, sorry, and they were quite good. I think the big race was the one in Zandvoort though. Which I'm going to go through now and explain. So first of all, as you can see, Nicholas Longe is first on the intermediates. Now, he was winning this race. He went to pit for mediums, and the game has put him on intermediates. Now, this was we found this out after the race because he was very emotional after the race because he basically lost the race win because of it. Finished at the bottom. He would have won because he had a comfortable advantage if the game had actually put him on the tyres he has to be on. So it was a game glitch that caused him to lose. Which is it's just not what you want really to happen. Now, this is the controversial moment of the race. Now, this is Freddie Rasmussen versus Barry Burmand.
Race winner here at the Dutch Grand Prix. He's going to have his chance and he's got to commit. Here at 10-10, they make contact as they head down this long straight now. Rasmussen's got his nose in front. The car...
So he's overtaken Barry Burmand, but he's hit him in the process. Now, this should have been a penalty, but the stewards haven't given him a penalty, which meant that Freddie Rasmussen wins the race. And he's the championship leader by about 30 points going into the last event. Now, Rasmussen's never won F1 Esports before. This is he's been runner-up 4 times. So this is his big moment to win it. But he should have been penalised for that, to be honest. He got quite lucky. Yeah, that is going to be the end of the first episode. And I know that it's very amateur. We're trying. Most of the time it will just be Call of Duty, and I think when it's just Call of Duty it'll be easier. I do think it'll be easier when it's like that. But I do apologise, but obviously thanks for your patience. I hope you've enjoyed. Obviously drop a comment. Let me know any improvements and suggestions that you want. Like I've said, I'd love to get some guests on that are part of the Call of Duty community. But I know that might be really hard. Like, don't be expecting me to get any Call of Duty pros. I think that'd be pretty cool, but I don't think that's ever going to happen, unfortunately. I think I've lost my voice doing this as well. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it though. Please like and subscribe. I only thought of the idea today, by the way, so that's why it's really amateurish, because I just didn't really know like what to do. Oh, I also have actually forgotten. I have got my 2 awards to hand out. On every single roundup, we're gonna do the honourable mention and MVP of the week. So, the honourable mention for this week goes to Oxy, who is on the Cloud9 Valorant team. For some reason last night I just decided to watch Cloud9 versus the World Champs Evil Genius in a Valorant match, and he was so good, Oxy. He was just rushing them, and Evil Geniuses, even though it was 3 maps, they just weren't expecting it, and he got so many kills and he won them the game. And MVP of the week, I've gone for Brokey from the FaZe clan CS team. I just think he was just such a huge impact of them winning the games against Astralis and against Mouse. Well, that's going to be the end for this first episode. I know there's a lot of things that'll have to be worked on, but I'll get the hang of it. And again, sorry for first of all playing the video the first time for the FaZe one, and then you couldn't actually see anything. Let me know as well what you guys think about the new Call of Duty League news. Can we see an expansion next year? That would be absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.